Just over 3 years ago, I took one of the biggest gambles of my life. I booked a one-way ticket to a country I've never been to, I couldn't speak the language of, and I had very little idea on how life was like. So what would lead me to this point, to make such a drastic change in my life, move across the world, leave my whole life behind, friends, family, belongings, everything left in boxes back at home? This is the roller coaster story of how I ended up moving abroad. We need to roll back the time to 2018, where this really started to come together. During this time, I was like most people. I was working a 9 to 5, lacking direction in life, wondering what I was going to do. Was I just going to climb up the career ladder like everyone else? Was I going to have a family? Was I going to buy a house? How would I do that with all the cost of living that Australia has, one of the most expensive places in the world? How would I achieve these goals? So I was wondering if there was a better way. So I asked all my friends what their long-term goals were. And the response was identical. Climb the career ladder, have family, have kids, buy a house if they hadn't already, pay the mortgage, retire at 60. So then I was doing some calculations in my head. I was like, okay, so a house is going to cost me $500,000. A kid from 0 to 18, on average in Australia, is between $100,000 to $300,000. So let's total that to $800,000. Then what about living costs? I've got to still live, and I'm going to have to rent and put a deposit down. So I'm thinking this whole way and going, how am I going to get ahead? And I'm going to be stuck for my whole life going through this situation like everyone else. There must be a better way. So for me personally, I've always done some pretty out there jobs which don't fit in the typical box that people would do. I tried a variety of different things that didn't pan out, but I kept trying, and despite all the failures, I'll keep trying over and over again. But I needed to think bigger, something that I haven't come across to get me out of this situation. So one day I went to work and my boss comes up to me and says, "Hey Marcus, are you investing in IOTA? If you're confused on what IOTA is, it's some shitcoin crypto which everyone at my workplace was investing in." And I had heard about crypto like most people had, but I didn't really know in-depth details. I always just thought it was a scam or this and that. After all the people talking to at work about this crypto, they all were investing in it, and I was wondering what is so good about this shitcoin. To cut this story short, essentially I disregarded it, but I was interested about crypto, and I started doing some digging and learning a bit about cryptocurrency itself. And don't worry, I'm not going to sell you a crypto course if you're wondering at this point, so don't worry about that. But what I did with crypto was I didn't think that I was going to make such a critical change at that point of my life, which would change my whole trajectory of my life. This was the initiation of starting to move abroad. And this critical thing that I did was I decided to invest all of my savings into a crypto token, which I'd heard on YouTube. Now picture your bank account filled with money. Great, awesome. And then investing it all and seeing it go up about 20% and going, oh, I'm going to sleep great. This is awesome. I'm going to be a millionaire tomorrow. And waking up and 95% of your money is gone. Welcome to my life in 2018. I lost everything. And yes, I did sell the bottom. Instead of crying and making my life hell for myself, of course it felt horrible, I decided that I did something wrong because everyone was making money, that it seemed, online, and I wasn't. So I made it my life's goal to basically win all my money back plus more. So I became obsessed. I researched everything. You could ask me a million questions about crypto and I could answer them for you. I became an encyclopedia of crypto. Every dollar I got extra, I put it into crypto. I lived and breathed crypto. On my work breaks, I was on crypto. I always just did crypto. So, and then it became, after doing this for a year or two, I had earned all my money back, plus a lot more, and I was earning more money than my job. And I was like, this is great. I've had FU money at this point. So I could just basically tell my boss if I didn't like him, which I did like him, so I never did. Basically, at any point, if I didn't like something, FU and leave. That was the position I was in. But then tax happens. If you're unaware, Australia is one of the highest tax countries. And Australia doesn't really like crypto, especially at this point. It has progressed a little bit, but at this point they were so against crypto. Yet the second you earned $1, they had their hand out going, you gotta pay us. So I did my part, paid off the ATO. So I had the money situation sorted. But I knew this wasn't a long-term option because the crypto bull run only goes for a specific amount of time historically. Now I needed to think about the next chapter of my life. Do I just put my money that I had earned from crypto into a house and go through that whole process? And while it has fast-tracked me, it's not going to give me everything I'm retired. I definitely wasn't at that level. I knew I was outgrowing Australia. I didn't like the direction that the country was going in. So I saw the writing on the wall with Australia and I knew that I probably wouldn't be there for too much longer. And then I came across Poland. It's cool. Australia is very hot, so Poland's cool. I was like, great. Low cost of living. Houses were cheap to purchase. It was in Europe, so traveling was easy. Beautiful women. What more could you want? Plus, English was widely spoken. So I had Poland set in my sights, and then the world closed down. 2019 or 2020, everything closes down. Now, I was in one of the strictest states in the world, which was Western Australia. We couldn't leave our state or the country for 2 years or so. During this time, I came across the most life-changing YouTube video I have ever seen, and that is by Nomad Capitalist, and he was talking about Tbilisi, Georgia. I had never heard of this place before. It was fascinating to me that a place could give you free visa for 365 days and just cross the border and come back, low cost of living, no tax. Like, why has this place ever been in my life? Why is no one talking about this? So right then and there, I decided I was going to move to Georgia the second the country opened up. But even before the country opened up, you could sign a piece of paper, which is basically Australia's way of saying, hey, if you leave the country and we approve you, we're not taking you back, which is pretty egregious against the citizens. Like a citizenship, you should always take your citizens back. But even in Australia, people that were expats and had sick families or dying family members, Australia wasn't letting them all back. That created huge outrage. So I was signing away my life, saying, get me out of this country. If something happens to me, it's my own fault, but they still rejected me. But I had some money saved up, in particular for a high, expensive flight out the day that it opened. And the day that it did open, the borders opened, I flew to Georgia. And that's where my whole life started again. Now, why am I making this video? A, to give you a bit of backstory on myself, but B, is to show you the purpose of my channel. There was one video in particular, that one I said about Nomad Capitalist. So that one YouTube video changed my life. And I hope that one of my YouTube videos will change your life so you can take the journey that I have or something similar. And maybe it's not to the countries I go to, but I show you the honest reality of where I've lived and how things are, so you can take the first steps and have a more educated guess than I did. So if that sounds great to you, please subscribe to my channel and I'll keep bringing you all the expat related content that I can. Thank you and have a great day.